our portfolio of companies, typically really in the B2C space. We don't really have anyone in the B2B outside of Charlie. Um, but we are building a portfolio of businesses that are currently doing like 3.5 million a month right now, targeting like B2C offers, biz op. If you have an offer targeting consumers with some type of high ticket product or service, this workshop is going to be really valuable to you because every time we meet, we do a 30-day retro. We look at what's worked over the last 30 days across our portfolio of companies that we're managing over like $1 million a month in spend for right now. And then we just share lessons. This is our opportunity for us to document what's working for us. And then hopefully what's working for us, you can essentially take some of those principles, frameworks, implement it into your own business. And then if you have any questions, if you're with us within the workshop, you can, you'll see if you're in our workshop environment, you can click ask a question. And so when we transition to the Q&A, you can go ahead and ask a question. All right. So June was a bit of a doozy, right? A lot happened on like the sell side. There was some show rate issues across the board. Marketing, there was a lot of stuff that we tweaked marketing side for a few accounts. So why don't we kind of go through top line? I think June, we ended up, let me look at what the spend was for June for one account. June, we ended up closing out for one account at 1.1 million in revenue. And for that month, we spent, let's see, last month, we spent about $200,000 on ads for $216,000 on ads to generate 1.1 million. Not bad.
Not at all.
Yeah, not bad at all. So what are like the major things that as you're looking at from a marketing standpoint in June that you think had a positive impact? What are some red flags that you saw that you had to kind of get ahead of? So let's dive into the marketing and media buying side, and then we can unpack sales side. So there was some lead efficiency stuff that we unpacked and discovered in June that we had to implement that I've seen have a positive impact, and some funnel optimization stuff that we had to do. So I'll kick it off to you for the marketing and like media buying.
So for the marketing side, messaging was a big one for a few accounts. And what I mean by that is thinking that they help this person, in which they really don't, which really made it difficult for them on the sales calls, knowing that their actual sales reps can actually sell. So there was nothing wrong with the sales reps. They're good, they're legit, all that. They just couldn't sell that type of women for this offer, even though that they clicked the ad, they came in, showed, booked the call, showed, etc.
And let me like clarify that. So essentially the problem, right, was when we did the initial audit of their sales process and their sales calls, the ICP that came from the research of who they were closing versus the ICP that the business owner said they actually wanted was different. So we built the messaging, we built the campaigns around the people that they were closing successfully, but it wasn't aligned with the people that they really wanted to be getting in front of.
That's correct. Right. So when I did get all the assets and everything, half of it was good, half of it wasn't good, but they thought it was good because it turned into dollars. That's not usually how you try to build your marketing and branding and everything off of. Just because somebody sold doesn't mean that's your ideal person that you want to actually.
Not all money is good money. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just because somebody bought your program doesn't mean that's the type of person you want to be engineering your marketing to get in front of, which is what we were doing, right? They gave us people that they closed, but they weren't very specific with curating the people that they closed to be only those that were like 10 out of 10 ideal prospects.
Right. Correct. So I got on half our roster, honestly, and I just spent an hour with them, and all we talked about who's the perfect person that you want. And there was a couple people that I had, a couple accounts that I had to rebuild some of the marketing, even though it looked good on paper, right? Getting book costs, KPI, lead, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So I'll talk about that one specific. Well, got on, talked all the way through it. Exactly. I'm like, this marketing doesn't talk anything of what you're telling me right now on this comp.
Yeah, like what you say you want is radically different than who you've been actually selling and who we've been targeting with our messaging and with the funnels and everything that we have in place.
Exactly. So did a 180, did the whole thing. I would say about 72 hours in, they probably made the most in 3 hours that they ever, I mean, 3 hours in 3 days that they've ever done the previous month, because they were getting the right person through.
Yeah, it was like, what was it, like 50K in 3 days or
40K
40K?
in 3 days or something,
Yeah.
something really good like that. Like, oh my God, we hit the nail on the head. I'm like, well, that's what happens when you talk to the right person that
Yeah. So in like 3 days, like the month was struggling, and in 3 days it did more with that flip than it did the previous month combined.
And they had a record month last month, even though half the month was the wrong people and they were struggling the whole time. And they still had a record month because the 2 weeks was just straight right people, lay downs on sales calls. Sales reps were saying this is the perfect people, etc. So very important is when you build out your ICP, build out your messaging campaigns, your marketing plans, everything. Don't just look at the money. Look at who the real true person is that you want through, who's the right people that you want through, and then build all the messages and everything from that. Another thing you could possibly do is you get all those right people, right? We like to look at sales calls because they tell you everything.
If you've sold people that were 10 out of 10 in the past, like this advice is mainly applicable to like if you've successfully been closing deals, like find who those people are that are like your dream clients. Find their sales calls, and if you can gather 10 or more of those types of calls and analyze it, now you have the solid foundation for like a true ICP profile that you can start building your messaging and your marketing collateral around.
Right. And then you can always take it one step further and get the 10 worst people that you ever did and say, I do not want to use any of the type of language or anything in the other characteristics of these people. Can you exclude it from anything when you're building out my ICP? That's one step further. Now you have like a 10 out of 10 ICP without all the junk that you had before. The thing is, clients were saying to us a mixture of both because it just led to money. So that is number one. The second thing that we found is branding campaigns. The way we used to use branding campaigns, I think there's only one account that truly still uses it this way for the most part.
They're more middle funnel.
Right. We would do custom audiences, leads, all website visitors, schedules, purchasers, because purchasers is book calls for us. We would just bunch it up and then we would just show them branding campaigns. Now, the idea behind that was for nurturing to potentially increase show rate, all that type of stuff. Well, what I found was that wasn't really happening in my opinion. And I think we were just bogging it down more than anything. So what I did is pretty much every single account, I took away from the accounts. And there's only one I didn't do that with, but
You're probably going to need to do that with that one.
Probably.
I just going to creep up a little bit.
Yes. But I did build a campaign on top of that to help with it. We'll talk about that. But so I did that with every account. Right. So the branding campaigns is you just grab your best content from your if it's Instagram or Facebook, you just grab it natively. Right. Post engagement campaigns. Right. And when you pick the piece of the content that you want to put out, put the pieces of content that talks to your ICP. Don't put random stuff. Right.
Yeah. We don't want like lifestyle stuff. Like it needs to be videos that you created speaking to your ideal customer.
Exactly. And because Facebook uses all that as inputs and uses that as what you're sending back to the machine learning, because people like, comment, share, engage, watch a video, whatever. All those are signals that you're pushing back to Facebook to figure out who of the people that are interacting with your stuff. Well, when you put those post engagement campaigns, quote unquote, top of funnel, you're feeding the top of the funnel system because all those people are engaging. Now your conversion ads will naturally target those people. So what we found is all those branding campaigns that we started to put top of funnel are conversion ads. Efficiency and our results started to drop, and it started to drop a pretty significant. Like I could tell you one where it was 120 for a qualified book call. It dropped all the way to $68 since I did that. That's like one account. All the accounts were doing that. So that's another big thing we started to do. And the second branding campaign. So I like to use that as short-term branding campaigns. The second branding campaign is more long-term, and then you use those of more of followers to get more followers. Now, we don't use followers ads to get DM ads because I know there's a lot of guys that do that to get followers, the DM the people. We don't do that here, right? We do that to get more people to engage with your content, people that can do a two-step from organically from one of your posts that they can send you a DM. But not only that, but we send more signals back to Facebook like, hey, all these people are following this brand. Well, your conversion ads would naturally target them. So those are the two big things that we saw on market was messaging, top of funnel, post engagement, short-term branding campaigns. And then the third one we're bringing in is followers to increase follower count, but not what you guys think in terms of DM ads, because we don't do that here. We do that for out with your organic with two steps. So your organic should be working alongside your ads. Don't just rely on ads. And then it sends signals back to Facebook. This person followed. Cool. I'm going to hit them up with my conversion ads because your ads will naturally hit them up depending on where they sit in the funnel with frequencies and all that. So those were the two biggest things that we saw on the marketing standpoint, which is big. Those two things.
Yeah, and those will like really impact the amount of calls and leads that are being generated and things like that, which is I think on that with the other account, we'll probably need to implement something like that. But we can unpack that a little bit more.
Yeah.
On the sales side, what I was noticing is that we're getting we're losing lead efficiency inside of Charlie when leads would reach CTA. So we have all these leads who are having a conversation, interested in booking a call, and reach a point where they were able to book a call. But Charlie was successfully booking people at like a 40 to 50% clip, which isn't bad. But there was a lot of people who were interested in booking a call that just stopped replying. So I wanted to layer in the voice agent to call them as a AI concierge, essentially to help them get onto the calendar. And with a few of them that have been that are live for like the AI concierge, we've been seeing like for some accounts like a 30% lead to book rate out of the people who reached CTA that picked up the phone when the AI called because it was calling using the same number that it was texting them from. So it made a really simple transition to increase the number of calls that are getting booked. And then there's some middle of funnel stuff that we need to roll out as well, where it's like more intentional middle funnel remarketing campaigns, database reactivation, like really intentional type stuff, virtual events, live challenges, evergreen webinars that we can retarget people with, promos, things like that. Just be more intentional with the middle funnel play to increase our lead efficiency. Because if we start ramping and scaling some accounts, we're pushing volume into a leaking bucket.
Yep.
And if we can fill that bucket, then we're going to increase the amount of leads that we're able to get booked for the same spend. Right. Which also has an impact on ROAS and all that good stuff.
Agree. And even with that alone, how else can you get more out of the funnel? I know we have the DQ side that we're trying to increase more volume through that to potentially get as many leads to that. We got the CTA voice setter kicking in on that. Then you got the middle of funnel plays as well. And all that takes into consideration because they will be leaky buckets like we found on one, which was a lot of people engage with the brand. A lot of people text back and forth. But when you look at this lead to CTA and Charlie, I'm going to just give an example. Let's just say 100 leads get to lead to CTA, but only 10 book. That means there's 90 leads that are stuck at the CTA level that said yes to the book call, but didn't book from on booking, from sending a follow-up, whatever. So instead of more text follow-up, Iggy said, cool, I'm gonna throw in a voice setter. I'm gonna call them and be like, "Hey, this is blah 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 blah
Yeah, and the
blah."
scripting for the voice agent is like super straightforward. It was just like, hey, this is Sophia. I'm the AI client concierge here with XYZ company. We got your application. Looks like you were trying to book a call. Everything looks good, but you weren't able to go on the calendar. You got like 30 seconds for me to help you get that booked in. And they say yes. And it's like, hey, what day and time works best for you? And then they share, and then it just conversationally sets them onto the calendar. Right. And the reason why that one's a rapid style is because Charlie's already had a conversation with them. We've already qualified their intent. They've expressed interest in booking a call. We just want to follow up with them in a different channel to get them over that line and get them booked. And since that voice agent shares the same brain, it has the context for the DM agent to just continue the conversation over the phone.
Exactly. So it's just another line of communication that hopefully you can get in front of that they would answer. If you did a multiple text follow-ups and they still haven't taken action, well, maybe they're not interested, possibly. Or two, maybe they had just a change of heart. Or three, maybe they communicate better if you were just to call them. Or another thing I want to implement now that we're here is I want to implement a webhook from CTA to send an email out that does it through a workflow. I wanted to bring that up. I want to implement that, and it's very intentional. That email, hey, saw that you're just having a conversation with the name that they were having inside, but you just haven't booked. Here's a link. So now you hit them up through email. Then you were texting. Then you did a follow up with text, and now you have the voice aid. It's kind of hard to do that with a human. Okay, this is all happening because Charlie's doing it all, right? So how can you get in front of with different lines of communication of whatever that is? Because not only that, so then you have your follow-ups in text. Then you hit the voice, right? Well, then you can have follow-ups with emails. One day. And now it's very intentional with the email. Hey, we were just talking before, blah, 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 with, let's just say Amy was the person that they were talking. You just haven't booked, and you were seem pretty serious based off our conversation. Here's a link. And you just send them the link to book the call. Yeah. Now, eventually, Charlie would be able to auto book through email. We're not there yet with the features just because text and
email is like such a
it's not very
like a conversational channel where it makes sense to support quite yet. We're eventually going to do that mainly for like enterprise B2B clients that really want and need email. But
exactly. But those are all ways of trying to increase the book rate without pushing more money from an ad and a marketing standpoint. How can you make the middle funnel part, which is when they opt in, how can you make that part so efficient that for sure you are getting the most out of the leads?
Yeah. And that's where we want to maximize. So while we're solving the volume constraint where it's like we need to be spending enough money to be booking enough calls to ensure that we're on pace for like revenue targets, we also want to increase our lead efficiency so we're getting more bang for our buck for everything that we're spending, right? So that's where like having those things in place, the emails, the phone, the calls, things like that. And then eventually in a couple weeks when Charlie can send videos and audio messages, being able to send those, multimedia for follow-up to get people to reply. Then it's like it's a wrap, we maximize our lead efficiency when we can layer in all those different things, right? And so you want to be thinking through how do we engineer the system in a way where it's just like all these different things are like compounding effects, right? Leads are coming in, they're having conversations, they're booking, and then if they don't, we're following up in multiple channels, but we're like adding these different layers of follow-up, these multi-channel follow-ups at the point where it matters the most, which is when they're about to book a call, right?
Correct.
Crank up the follow-up and engagement at that point, increase the amount of leads that are booking call, and then we layer in those nurture and middle funnel plays to nurture more of the leads that are qualified coming in that haven't taken action at any point. And so the goal is to, with these two things, these two flywheels starting to turn, creating a compounding effect. Now when we've done all that we can to nurture the pool of leads that we have to increase the amount of calls that are being booked. Now we can start to dial up the volume on this end because like there's no more juice we can get from this squeeze.
Exactly. And I think what a lot of people do too is they just put it all out there and they don't know exactly what did the good from it. So for example, we added the voice center because no matter what, if you just have like the basics, right? The text going back and forth, you are going to need something else. Like there's just something else. So that something else for us was the voice center at CTA, right?
Yep.
What happens when we do that? Okay, good. Increases a little bit. Great. Now, what if I add the email to fire? What happened? Okay, whatever the numbers is. Then let's just say the multimedia. What happens when I add the voice? Right? Oh, it actually went down. Oh, take away the voice, then the voice note. Let's when we have multimedia. What if that? So you have to go. I think you have to go in stages instead of saying email, voice, text,
Yeah, and then the thing about it too is like making sure you're tracking and documenting like what is the outcome for this new variable that I want to introduce to the system? And is this thing that I introduce actually producing the outcome that I want? And if it's not, let's say you introduce this thing and you're getting the same exact results as you were before. There's no point in having this there because this is an unnecessary variable that you have to account for now if something breaks. So turn it off. Introduce a different variable. But if I introduce this variable and I see a meaningful lift, then I know like this variable is doing what I need it to do. Right. Then now we have this new level of results that we're getting. If I introduce this new variable, do I see a new lift, a slight bump in that? Or if I need to introduce this new variable, it becomes same exact result I was getting before. People think, oh, like I introduced this thing, I'm getting the same results, so I just leave it alone. It's like, no, remove that because you've just validated that this thing isn't producing, this isn't it, right? This isn't going to get you to the next stage. So get rid of that so you don't have to account for it when you're introducing more stuff.
Totally agree because a lot of people that I talk to, whatever, they just put everything and they don't know exactly what caused this or what caused that. I'm like, because you have to go in stages when you add things to it. Does it do better? Does it do worse? Or does it stay the same? If it does worse, obviously, hopefully your brain works, you remove it. If it stays the same, remove it because that's another variable. Is something you would add on top of that. Just remove it because it's more stuff you have to worry about. Exactly what you said. If it increases, great. Let's add another one on top of that to see if it increases. Because at some point, there's going to be a breakage and a stop, and it's going to make things worse by you adding more and more and more to certain things. So you got to keep that in mind as well, because you probably are pissing off the leads. That more doesn't mean better. More can mean better and worse at the same time.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, a great example is like we're removing from one of our accounts, they're smoking their leads when the lead books. Like
Bro.
one sub automations, LNS calls, booking manager. But the funny thing is, despite all of that, because they were doing all of that before, right? And closers confirmation, and their show rate wasn't that great, but layer in the booking manager, we've seen a clear increase in show rate. Now we're like, okay, what can we remove from this to eliminate the noise? And if reduction, if we start to subtract some of these things, can we see an increase in show rate by just simplifying that pre-call process and that client journey to them showing up to the call? So now we're in like that growth by subtraction, right? Reducing as many variables as we can to see what is in here that does not need to be, that's taking away from the results that we actually want.
Right. And I think too is thinking further down or up the funnel, depending. So for example, like that brand you're talking about, it is a blue chip client. They had that show rate thing, right? But there was also a bunch of stuff on the marketing before we took over that really needed to get fixed to really truly believe it. Are we having a show rate problem? Did we do everything that we possibly can from a marketing in terms of quality, in terms of nurturing, in terms of the funnel, everything working? we're pretty much almost at that point. I think we're just a couple tweaks left to get even more out of it. But at this point, there is a good judgment to say you have a show rate problem now.
Yeah.
Before it could have been like, well, the leads suck. The marketing's just been off the whole time. So you can't really do all
Messaging wasn't good. There's just too much, and the data wasn't clean. You know, and now we've put in our system to where it's like we know without a shadow of a doubt the levers that need to be pulled, and there's data being gathered. So the kind of control that you have with a really good acquisition system, right? There are lots of good ones out there. I think the acquisition systems that we engineer is I think is the best. But it just gives you so much leverage, right? Like we can easily diagnose what is the constraint here, what are the issues, what are the challenges, and then clear action steps tied back to those specific constraints. And then we can review it and see, did these action steps actually solve this constraint? No, back to the drawing board. But we have a clear constraint that we're trying to solve. And now we're just figuring out what actions are going to solve that constraint, right? And then once it's solved, we have the tracking to show, okay, we got a meaningful bump, so on and so forth. But we're close to time. Is there anything else that's so it's a kind of like recap. So we have like the marketing stuff, really, really important when you're looking at your ICP. Look at the calls that you successfully closed that were 10 out of 10, right? Find the patterns between them. Look at the ones that you successfully closed that were 1 out of 10 clients. It's really, really important. Find the patterns around them, and whatever AI you're using to analyze it, say, hey, identify these patterns and make sure any marketing assets, any messaging that I put out there is excluding any patterns that would attract these 1 out of 10 customers, right? And then when you're generating, before you start ramping up volume, and when I say ramping up volume, I mean like you're spending like $20,000 to $30,000 a month on ads, right? Getting a good enough volume to where you'll see inefficiencies in your lead management, right? Look at your lead management, and are there opportunities for us to nurture our leads better or follow up with them in different channels to increase the amount of calls that are being booked from the same pool of leads that we're generating right now? If there are those opportunities, implement those opportunities first. And if you get the outcome from getting those things implemented, now you have the ability to increase spend. But typically, like by implementing and being more efficient with how you're managing the leads, you can actually get more calls being booked off the same ad spend and actually increase your revenue and cash collected without having to spend more money. And then once you're at that point where you're like, I'm fully maxed out the amount of opportunities that I can extract from this thing. Now I need to actually increase volume and feed the machine more inputs to get the outputs that I want. All right.
Agree.
And I think those are like really it. And then just being disciplined with how you're tracking and being methodical with the new things that you're introducing into your current processes. All right.
Agree. There's one more thing, but I'm gonna wait till we get a little bit more data, and that is on the confirmation page.
Yeah.
We'll wait for a few more. I think next month.
And by the next time we meet, we'll have good data.
It's going good, but I don't want to just say it yet.
We'll have good data on it. So let's hold off on that. But hopefully you guys found this helpful. Until next time, stay calm, change lives, have business on your terms. If you found these workshops helpful, you should definitely be in the room. If you're not using Charlie to manage your leads, like what the hell are you doing? Go to charlieai.io and get a demo of Charlie, and you should definitely be using it to manage your leads because you will guarantee reduce your cost for booking and increase your ROAS when you plug Charlie into your sales funnel.